Welcome to Gray Overload. Thinking about software and what it kind of does for our lives is a really amazing thing of how it's changed. We even have AI now, and that software's been evolving. But one problem with software is that if it's released before it's kind of finished or has a good stopping point, it can become an issue and a hassle. And at some point, within the last couple of years, I would have said, Windows was making some progress. We had Windows 7, and then there was 8, and then there was 10, and you're starting to see some good progression there or some good performance. And then Windows 11 happened, and now Copilot and everything else. And you got OneDrive in there, you got everything kind of put into one OS. Then you have other softwares that you download that are able to be used and perform quite well. And then you have subscriptions, and everyone wants their money there. And we're getting to a point where is software going in a direction that it should, or is it not? And I think this is actually a conversation that needs to happen as a whole, maybe not just in the developer community, but also at the user aspect of it. Because, I'm a developer during the day. I develop software, Windows and Linux, right? And so I enjoy it a lot. But one thing that comes to mind is as I use other software, I want that progress. I want to be able to get done with my task more effectively, more efficiently, and have that software produce a value. And every single time that software gets an update, to have more value than it did before and help me accomplish that more. And while I understand there can be bugs that get introduced, there can be other things that happen to software that need to be patched, and that, security, etc., that needs to be, taken care of and pushed through an update, which I think it should. There also needs to be, I think, some focus on quality when releasing software. And we can even take a look at Windows mostly here. And I'm going to talk about a little bit more about Microsoft, but think about this as a software as a whole experience for whatever piece of software you have. And this is not all software, right? There's some software out there that does a really good job, and the developers behind it make sure that they are releasing a better product each and every iteration, and making sure that they're delivering on their customers to help them improve their work life, help them improve the tasks they're trying to get done, rather than make it more painful. And with some subscription models and stuff like that, that can help, but that can also be a pain point if you had a perpetual license and now they want to move you up, or they won't give you support after in the time period that you've bought support, right? There's all that time period, stuff that I've seen here in the software world that really needs to get cleaned up. And hopefully over time, more and more people will do it. If we have more diversification in different pieces of software, I think that'll be more and more accomplished there. Microsoft has had a rocky year with OneDrive, and that's where I'm going to start with this. Is OneDrive in the cloud has been just horrible across the spectrum, right? And on Windows. You had them overwriting and screwing up games that people were playing, etc., with them backing up all your documents and stuff, which, using OneDrive as that can be a huge benefit. It does benefit a lot of people that I do some, work for, and, friends, family. They like to be able to go through and make sure everything is backed up, everything's in those folders. Quick, easy way to have stuff backed up, or stuff on another device, just in case their computer were to go down, and it's easy to get it back. Works really well, except for in some instances when it doesn't, whether that be an update or whether that be Microsoft just did not think of that way of doing things, or of accessing or writing files to there while you're playing a game, or whatever the task is. That can be a problem. And I think this goes back to where, while Microsoft, there was a point in time many years ago, they fired a whole bunch of testers. And I don't know, where the testing all falls down today, but where's the responsibility for testers, developers, and the project managers of the team to understand that a very important part of the task is to make sure that that software is tested. Testing takes a lot of time. Testing takes a lot of thought and a lot of creativity, because you're trying to break something and you want to know if it's broken or how it can break before you release it. That's not always possible, right? You're still going to release software, you're still going to have broken software, but then to get that fix out as fast as possible. And we take a look at OneDrive recently. Me and my brother and I were going through and working on something with a shared link, and he had a shared folder, and all of a sudden he's like, it's popping up as a link. And we had a problem with this. Well, that was fine. It wasn't something urgent for us. It was annoying, but it wasn't urgent. So we go through and, we work around it. We're just waiting to get a lot of stuff done, and it'll be fine in the end. But that's us that can, sit and wait. I had another person give me a call that was like, what is going on? How do you fix this? And I was like, you know what? There's no fix right now. And Microsoft was not on top of it to get out this information. OneDrive was only having a link, and these people that want to have that shared folder on their computer to be able to access and have the programs to have those edits for whatever they were working on, which was way more important than what my brother and I were working on, was broken. And this is something that just can't continue. This is twofold. One, it's not testing. I get it. Microsoft is in a migration, and they did not think of making sure, say, folders worked between the different versions of that migration of the shared folders. I should say shared folders work in the migration between the two different versions of non-migrated and migrated in the OneDrive backend. And this is a problem, or this is a continuing occurrence at Microsoft, where we don't fully test things, we don't fully think things through to get that out. And I hope that it will change. But the most important part about this was the delayed response from Microsoft. It didn't seem to come out. It didn't seem to have a formal announcement. And if Microsoft's going to have all these different pieces of software, right? You have Windows, you have Xbox, you have OneDrive, you have Copilot, you have Office, Word, all these things, and they get all these updates dynamically, and they get them at random times. What Microsoft, I think, needs to do a better job of is making sure that there's one dedicated area for known issues or known problems or getting up there. I can go to different areas and find known issues in Windows and everything else, but a lot of times you're finding it through articles, and the articles are fine, right? They're getting them, they're asking Microsoft questions, they're finding it on a blog, but where's the known issues page on the Microsoft thing? And that, I think every company needs to start doing that, putting out a list, or when somebody has a problem, instead of searching hours, could be hours, could be minutes, you're wasting that time. All of a sudden that piece of software is not more efficient anymore. It is now taking up your time, it is wasting it, and you're spending more time instead of doing your work trying to figure out why something is broken. And that is not the result that I think anybody wants. And maybe AI will be able to come in here and help out and prevent things. I think, the one missing thing about this is having AI go through and test software over and over again. I think having AI be part of that testing could be pretty huge, and could be a huge game changer for companies, if we're actually able to put AI to a testing mechanism out there. So I hope that they are able to look into doing a lot more AI testing, executing software and finding bugs before they get out to the consumer. We really want software to get easier to use as it progresses, not harder to use, right? And the entry to making it that can be difficult, because a feature, a new feature can make stuff more difficult, can make stuff easier, but you have to think about how you're going to approach it and how to lay this out to the consumer. So Windows as a whole, right, is used by billions of people today, maybe, or what Microsoft claims it's on like a billion computers or something, in all over, or something like that. Well, it's used a lot, right? And it's used a lot in gaming. It's all over the place. But one thing I like to see, and one thing that's very disappointed in Windows as a whole, is the standard of making sure we're testing to make sure we have the best performance, and that when we're putting out an update, we have improved performance from one update to the next. And that doesn't necessarily mean about these incremental updates. While Microsoft should be testing those and getting that out, the Windows, I was watching Tech Yes City, and he does a lot of Windows 10 testing versus Windows 11 testing. and the Windows 10 is having better performance in games. Does that go across the platform? I get that you want security, but the, there needs to be as well a way to making sure that you are still putting out, in this case, the frames per second that the user wants. Then you also have the balance of security, so when you're online and browsing, you can also ramp that up, right? There's two sides of this coin, and we got to be making it easier for users. I don't like when I'm constantly getting phone calls from users. While I like helping them out, I don't like helping, or I don't like having the response of saying this is a current problem, right? I like to be able to help somebody out and be like, oh, I can help you get this, and you get the task completed, and it's something that you don't have to deal with. An update broke this. Now we have to go around and try to figure this out. And because the question that they always ask when they get done is, how do you prevent this in the future? And my problem is that the only way to prevent this in the future is to not have that update that failed. And that's the problem. I've seen this with individual programs. I happen to be picking on Microsoft here today. It's an easy target. I get it. But I'm just talking in general. The updates from whatever program it is needs to be easier. Needs to be easier to use, right? And when somebody goes out and buys something with the expectation it's going to work, right? Let's say another example. This is just an example, not that I don't know if it's happened or not, but if you buy a 4K or rent a 4K movie from someplace, right? You want to be able to go click play and that movie just work, right? Roku has a pretty good system of how this all works. I've hear many people are pleased with that. I don't have too much to say on the Roku renting experience because I've never rented anything, but people have told me they enjoy it. It's pretty easy. Um, that's a good thing. That's something that they maybe figured out and had their users go through. But if you're on maybe a different system, different browser, and you try to buy something in 4K, it plays it at 1080p, you're probably disappointed that you paid the extra money for 4K. That should be easy. It should just work. It should just play where or what you bought it for, or if not, just give the reimbursement, right, of the difference. It needs to be easy for things. It needs to be easy to convert people over. The piracy of something should always be harder than going through and buying it. And if that's not the case, as a developer, we need to take a step back and say, why is this? The one reason why everyone was pirating music, it was easy at the time, right? Online and easy. Well, then Apple came through and made buying songs super easy, and look at where that went to the all the pirates that went through of music. Yes, there's still some there, but Apple made it so easy that it was worth it. It was not worth your time to go try to do pirating, and I think that you should buy software as a software developer, right? I think that there's knowledge and the creativity that happened behind the scenes that you should take that and be like, okay, this is important, and they did a service to create this. Let's reward them for the service, but at the same time, let's make it easy for that, right? Let's make it not. Let's make sure that the pirate side is not the is not the easiest way and the default way, right? And while we're kind of working through all of this, right, as developers and everything else, I hope that there is a focus on making sure that software is getting better. And, you know, I've been through this video, I'm going to end it here now, is that if you're having a problem and you see a degradation in performance or in usability, put it in the comments below. I'd even like to see, if you have time, file feedback. I am a huge proponent of filing feedback to Microsoft, to filing feedback to other pieces of software I use, filing feedback in the AMD drivers, the NVIDIA drivers, where, as you're using them and you come across something, if there's a crash, I like to be able to put this back and give the developer something to hopefully latch onto and fix if if you can. Sometimes those crash reports, man, they just lead you nowhere. and you're guessing. But as much information and detail, get that down, and this can be a way where we can improve software, because I really want it to get easier for people to be able to do stuff. And lately I've seen and heard from people that it's been getting more frustrating, and it's time that we stop treating users as beta testers and start treating users as users, and realizing when they're buying a product, whether it's subscription or outright, they deserve a product that is working and that works for them and not frustrates them. With that, thanks so much for watching Graverload, and leave anything in the comments below what you think about the software industry or where software's been going. As a developer myself, I kind of focus on, while I'm developing, making sure that we're delivering a great product that is well tested so that the users have the benefit of getting a better piece of software than they did the last version. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, watch another one of my videos, as that really does help out the channel. And until next time, God bless.